I think the Marine Corps is trying to get MARSOC to go away. In fact, I know
I
that
think so too.
the CEO of MARSOC or the Marine Corps generals volunteered to give up the whole MARSOC budget when SOCOM asked them for cuts. So
Yep.
I think I think they're trying to bleed out the operators. They're already sending operators back to recon and like back to conventional units. So if you ask me now, obviously we just sent 7th Group into Mexico. So if it starts getting spicy, they probably going to be like, all right, let's go play. But they don't, the Marine Corps hates MARSOC because it's the only unit
Oh
that's
yeah.
not in the Marine Corps. They hate it.
And I think they didn't. I think the problem was like they stood up MARSOC. You know, when we needed more soft, we needed more FID, we needed more counter coin. We needed help with those things. And then now that that sort of died off in the second half of the war, it was kind of like, well, SF is the biggest soft unit, right? Like they don't really need help doing this. What is the actual mission set for MARSOC? Like, how is it differentiated? How is it different than Force Recon? If they're not going to be doing the Green Beret mission set, like, do we even need them? Which I think kind of sucks because I think MARSOC's badass, right? I like the idea of fucking a bunch of like 25 to 35-year-old fucking hard hitting Marines and soft, but is it needed like as a unit? I like, you got SEALs, you got DevGru, you got SF. Like, what niche are they really feeling?
Yeah,
I don't think
Rangers as well.
Rangers, I don't think they ever really figured that out. I think they kind of were just like, well, we're gonna try FID, we're gonna try coin, we're gonna try this, we're gonna try that, and it kind of just has left them like, kind of like a redheaded stepchild, a little bit of like, well, what do we really need you for? I think that's what the Marine, and the Marines are fucking very grunt ish, right? Like they don't really necessarily like the idea of like special operations. Like I know a lot of Marines are like, why the fuck do we need special operations? So that's kind of a sentiment.
We're all special operations.
Or we're all fucking hitters, right? And they are,
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like
they are. They are.
if you who's going into
They are.
fucking conflict first?
Yeah, yeah.
Fucking those motherfuckers always, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
obviously after SF, but like once the conventional units go in, I don't want that job, right? Like I've seen the videos of Fallujah in 2003, 2006. Fuck that, right? The Marines can keep that shit, but
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Taking
I think
streets.
that's I think that's a big problem now is wars died down, there's no conflict, and then on top of that, like what are you doing that's different than everybody else? I don't think they have
So
anything really at the moment.
so Nate, early on in the formation, I wish Ben was here because he could talk about it. Early on in the formation, SOCOM proposed to the Marine Corps that MARSOC would be the premier reconnaissance unit in
Right.
SOCOM.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Marine Corps told them, no, we want to be assaulters.
Mm.
They tried for a couple years to get them to bite on being the premier recon force, and they just wouldn't do it. And
So
so now
MARSOC didn't want to do it, or
they wouldn't. They
okay.
wouldn't like the Marine Corps didn't want them to be pigeonholed into doing one mission. Like, and so as you know, they've let them go on some missions, and there was some issues.
Right.
So now they're in the little boy cage over there on the side.
Yeah.
And it is what it is, right? Like there's not enough kinetic stuff to go around. So the worst
Well,
performers get to sit
and I
out.
think we can all, as soft dudes, we can all understand that like it's a reality. When the wars end, what does the military say? We don't need soft, right? We never needed soft, right? It happens in Air Force, it happens in SF, it happened after Vietnam. You can see it starting to happen. Like my dad will tell you about it, man. Like they went from fucking doing all the shit in Vietnam with the A camps and MACV-SOG and all that to immediately like, hey, y'all can either go back to the regular infantry and we're taking your berets, or you can get the fuck out. Like, and that's sort of like, we're not that deep now, but that's sort of kind of like what I've seen over the last couple of years is like, oh, we don't need soft because the future of warfare is cyber and drones and all these things. And it's like, yeah, but who runs those drones, right? Like who's forward deployed actioning in those strikes, right? We kind of like forget about that. And I think where we're at right now with no conflict, the military is kind of like, how do we cut costs? Well, we can cut costs X, Y, and Z. And then when the next massive conflict kicks off in 2 years, 3 years, and all of a sudden we're like, oh shit, we need fucking Marine fucking Raiders to do something. All of a sudden we're kicking units back up, because we're really short-sighted, I think, in America based off of stuff like that.
Well, that's my problem with it is that we say, future fights. really? Because I'm pretty sure there's dudes on the ground right now that
Yeah.
we were never going to have boots on the ground again,
In
right? So,
Syria, like we're just
yeah,
still like fighting in Syria, like all
right.
these places.
And so
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I get it. Maybe in 200 years, when the technology is there,
Right.
sure, maybe we'll never have. But you can't say, like, that's why when they go, hey, there'll never be another conflict that involves close air support. So we're gonna kill the
Mm,
A-10, death by 1,000 cuts. And you're
right.
like, dude, real? I mean, we're doing close air support right now. Like,
And it's like, oh, well, this actually might be kind of beneficial at the border.
yeah.
Like all of a sudden, immediately, you're like, oh, maybe we are gonna need this.
Until we're there, like with CCAs, the where the fighters fly in and there's drones with it, kind of like out of that movie Stealth. Like until
Yeah.
we're there and we're actually flying these things, like we can't say that. And we can't
Yeah.
assume that there will be no requirement for dudes on the ground.
Well, and I'll tell you this, there always will be. And you know who proved that? The fucking Mujahideen and the fucking Taliban and the fucking NVA in Vietnam. They proved have all the goddamn technology in the world you fucking want. Try to invade our country and watch. We got fucking flip flops and AKs, homie. And for 40 fucking years, they survived, right? So I agree with Peaches. I think we get a little too far ahead of ourselves in like how good technology really is when it comes to conducting warfare. And Ukraine's showing that. Ukraine's trench fucking warfare right now, guys. Trench warfare. Think about how crazy that they are literally fighting like it's World War I right now in Ukraine. Two first world nations, which is nuts.
If you enjoy this clip and want to watch the full episode, please click on the pinned comment below.